Welcome to Keto Meals and Recipes.com. Today I will show you how to make my version of a keto bone broth turmeric latte. This latte is dairy-free, is soothing, is bulletproof, and a high-energy drink. I thought I would share this recipe with you because recently I've made this several times for us while we have been recovering from a nasty virus. And if you're wondering what this tastes like, let me describe the taste. This bone broth latte is a perfect combination of homemade broth or soup stock, seasoned with turmeric, which has a slight peppery and umami taste. And all of this is brought together with a slight kick of citrus. This latte, when served nice and hot, has a very soothing feel on your throat as you're drinking it, which, as I said, is especially nice when you're not feeling well or have a scratchy throat. But you can also have this drink just as a nice energy boost or a pick-me-up. Best of all, if you have homemade bone broth, this whole recipe will take less than 5 minutes to make. And one last thing I'd like to mention. After the recipe portion of the video, I will also provide a mini tutorial on the health benefits and some of the resources I used if you want to know more about turmeric as a spice or of the health benefits of curcumin. Before starting, I want to mention that the macronutrient ratio for the bone broth turmeric latte is 0.9 to 1 with 5.3 grams of total carbs, 0.7 grams of dietary fiber, resulting in 4.6 grams of net carbs per 1.5 cup or 355 grams serving. I'd like to emphasize that making this bone broth latte is extremely easy. And as I mentioned, you will need some form of chicken bone broth or soup. And of course, I think homemade is best. And that's because homemade chicken soup or bone broth has a fuller taste and also has the most nutritional benefit. If you want to learn how to make your own chicken bone broth or Italian soup base, I have previously posted a detailed video on how to make my version of both the Italian chicken soup and then how to make the bone broth, which is very collagen rich. The link to this video will be in the description box below, as well as the link for the written recipe for this latte. And you could also check out the end cards for more suggestions. However, if you don't have homemade bone broth, there are a few brands of chicken stock or bone broth you can buy in your grocery store. Read the label carefully and do check out the nutritional content and ingredients of your store-bought broth. Okay, once you have the bone broth, begin by getting your small, heavy-bottom saucepan. Pour in either your homemade or store-bought chicken bone broth. Then add the freshly squeezed lemon juice, to which you add one of either MCT oil, MCT powder, as I'm going to use because I don't like the greasy taste of the oil, or if you don't have either of these, you could also use extra virgin cold pressed coconut oil, which has pretty good MCT in it as well. Alternatively, you could also just leave out any form of oil if you don't want to use them. Now it's time to add the turmeric powder and the finely ground Himalayan salt. By the way, there are many different kinds of salt, and they have very different degrees of saltiness and taste, so please adjust the taste to your liking. After adding all of your ingredients to the saucepan, place it on your stovetop set to medium heat. And as your broth is heating, stir your broth and keep heating it to a nice, vigorous simmer. You want this latte to be quite hot, like the temperature of your hot coffee. At which point, pour your heated bone broth latte into a blender. But before you start blending, place an oven mitt on top of the lid and press down as you start your blender. There'll be a bit of a kick when you first start the blender. You really should do this because if you don't, the pressure created by the hot liquid has a tendency to blow off the lid and splatter your cupboards and make a big old mess. And of course, you want to be very careful that this hot liquid doesn't splatter on you. One of my viewers once recommended that instead of using a blender with hot liquids, you could insert an immersion wand right into your pot of hot liquid, if you have one. I thought this was a great idea, but I don't have an immersion wand, so I'm going to use a blender. And either with a blender or immersion wand, blend at high speed for about 1 to 2 minutes to form a very velvety, light, frothy beverage. And to serve, pour into a large, heat-resistant mug. This bone broth turmeric latte is best enjoyed as hot as you can drink it. Okay, and that's all there is to the recipe. So now for a bit of information about turmeric. Let's begin with the first question. What is turmeric? Turmeric is a spice that comes from the root of the cúrcuma longa plant, which is a perennial plant. The botanical name for this plant is Cúrcuma domestica, or its synonym Cúrcuma longa. Some other common names for turmeric are Indian saffron, ukan, I'm going to butcher the next 2 words, negi, wang kiang, and this plant comes from the family of Zingiberaceae, again, a name I probably mispronounced, which is the ginger family. Turmeric can be bought as a ground dry powder, which is usually found in the spice section of your grocery store, or you can buy the fresh root, which you can find in the vegetable section of your grocery store. If you do use the root, store it in an airtight container in your refrigerator. But before using the root, just peel off the skin just like you would ginger and chop and grate it to use in your recipe. Turmeric is a native plant in areas that have monsoon forests located in Southeast Asia. It's a perennial herb that can grow up to 1 meter tall and produces underground rhizomes. It also produces a very tall and very beautiful, usually white, flower. Turmeric has a long history in both Chinese traditional medicine and in Ayurvedic medicine, where it has been used to treat arthritis. I'd like to mention that store-bought turmeric does have some antioxidant properties. If using turmeric as a spice, it does not have a significant impact, especially since relatively little is used in recipes when you're using it as a seasoning. That's because the main active ingredient in turmeric is curcumin, and it's curcumin that gives turmeric that really intense yellow color. However, if you do want the benefits of curcumin, it's far more potent if used as a supplement because it has been concentrated from the turmeric. In recent years, scientists are pursuing research in order to determine whether curcumin is as helpful as it has been claimed in traditional medicine for a variety of diseases such as those that cause chronic conditions where inflammation affects the tissues of the body. Here are some of the studies you should look at if you're interested in more information for both the positive and the negative effects of turmeric or curcumin. So my final caution and disclaimer to you is, because of some of the side effects, that turmeric should not be taken by some people. When using herbal medication or herbal spices, it's really important that you use caution when deciding whether turmeric or curcumin supplement is right for you. Speak with your doctor before you use turmeric or curcumin to treat any health condition. The information I have provided is simply research I have found, so please do your own research to verify information and make sure that it's the most current and accurate. I'd like to thank you for watching this video. I hope that you have found this recipe and the information on turmeric and curcumin useful. If you did, please consider subscribing, turning on the notification bell, and scrolling down and activating all. Give the video a like and forward it to a friend or family. I hope you come back when I post my next video, and until then, have a really great day. Cheers!